Australian first facial recognition cameras have revealed the number of criminals walking among us in Perth. 20 wanted people have been scooped up off the street in just 1 week.
Even today, a media conference spruiking the cameras was interrupted as they detected wanted people, forcing police into action.
2nd of July 2026. At a busy bus station in Mirrabooka, Western Australia, the police commissioner was speaking to reporters. Behind him stood a marked police van. Cameras mounted nearby were watching the people moving through the interchange. But they were not simply recording video. Every visible face entering the camera's view was detected. The system measured facial features, created a biometric template and compared it against a police alert list. Then, during the media conference, the system produced an alert. Officers entered the crowd and approached a woman. She was reportedly wanted for failing to appear in court.
Cameras detecting a wanted person in the middle of his media conference. This woman was wanted for allegedly failing to appear in court.
It was an extraordinarily effective demonstration, and according to the commissioner, it had already been happening throughout the week. In its first week, one police van reportedly scanned more than 130,000 faces in public spaces. Police reported 33 alerts, 19 arrests, 2 welfare checks, and encounters with 21 registered sex offenders. There were also 2 false alerts. Those numbers tell 2 very different stories. The first is about effectiveness. A mobile system helped police locate people they were lawfully seeking in places where traditional searches could take far more time and manpower. It could help find a missing person, locate someone with an outstanding warrant, or identify a person who presents a genuine risk. The second story is about scale. To find a relatively small number of people, the system processed the faces of more than 130,000. Most were suspected of nothing. WA Police says this is not mass surveillance. It calls the system a precision crime-fighting tool. It says unmatched biometric data is deleted immediately, that ordinary faces are pixelated on the operator's screen, and that an algorithmic alert alone is never grounds for arrest. Those safeguards matter, but they do not answer the central question. When police create and compare a biometric template for every person who walks past a camera, has the crowd been searched? And if the answer is yes, does immediate deletion make that search acceptable? This is not a story about a machine secretly storing the identity of everyone in Perth. There is no evidence that is what this trial does. It is a story about something more subtle. The moment when surveillance stops merely recording where people went and begins asking who each person might be, in real time. And the moment when appearing in public may be enough to place your face, briefly but automatically, inside a police identification process. This is trust protocol. And today, we are examining what Western Australia's live facial recognition trial actually does, what safeguards police have put around it, and whether those safeguards are strong enough for the system that may come after the trial. Live facial recognition is different from ordinary CCTV. A conventional security camera records images. Someone may review those images later, particularly if an incident occurs. Live facial recognition adds an identification layer. When a face enters what WA Police calls the zone of recognition, software detects it and extracts a mathematical representation of its features. That biometric template is compared with templates generated from images on a predetermined alert list. If the similarity score crosses a defined threshold, the system produces an alert. That is not supposed to be a final identification. WA Police says a trained operator reviews every alert. An officer considers the images, the similarity score, the conditions, and other available information before deciding whether to approach someone. Its own published assessment says alerts are treated only as lines of inquiry. There are no automated arrests or enforcement decisions. The current 5-month trial is also overt. The technology travels in a marked police van. Signs warn that facial recognition is operating. Deployments are described as intelligence-led and time-limited. Each must be authorized by an officer at the rank of superintendent or above, who is required to consider necessity, proportionality, location, safeguards, and the categories of people included on the alert list. WA Police says deployments near schools, hospitals, and places of worship receive additional scrutiny. The alert list is not described simply as a list of convicted criminals. According to the police website, it may include people with outstanding warrants, people suspected of serious offences, those subject to lawful restrictions, missing persons, and people thought to pose a risk to themselves or others. That distinction matters. Some people on the list may be wanted for arrest. Others may not be accused of any crime at all. A missing or vulnerable person may be included so police can protect them. For everyone who does not generate an alert, police says derived biometric data is deleted immediately and automatically. The operator sees pixelated faces. Data is not shared with third parties. Police says biometric data is deleted after each deployment, although details of alerts may be retained when required for an investigation or complaint. The published Privacy Impact Assessment identifies NEC as the technology vendor and refers to its NeoFace system. It says biometric information is encrypted, alert lists are encrypted, and data is stored in Australia. These are not meaningless promises. Data minimization, human review, overt signage, limited deployment periods, and senior authorization are exactly the kinds of controls that should exist around a capability like this. And the early results suggest the system can work. 19 arrests in 1 week is not a hypothetical benefit, nor is locating a vulnerable missing person. The strongest argument for the trial is therefore not that privacy does not matter. It is that a carefully restricted system may let police find specific people more quickly while retaining less information about everyone else than conventional CCTV. The Commissioner has even argued that this makes live facial recognition less intrusive than cameras that retain footage of everyone. But that comparison contains a problem. Ordinary CCTV may retain your image. Live facial recognition interprets it. It converts your face into sensitive biometric information for the purpose of comparing you with people police want to find. The fact that this process lasts only moments limits the risk. It does not mean the process never occurred. Western Australia's independent privacy watchdog made exactly this distinction. The Office of the Information Commissioner said it was aware of the trial, but had not been invited into any formal consultation process and did not contribute to its design. The office acknowledged that responsible biometric technology can produce real public safety benefits. But it also warned that even information held for a very short time is still collected, and privacy obligations still apply. WA Police's own assessment is equally direct on one point. If you walk through the recognition zone, you cannot opt out of being captured. There may be signage. Deployment locations may be published. In some circumstances, a person might choose another route. But walking through a public transport interchange, entertainment precinct, or major event is not the same as agreeing to biometric processing. This is where the debate moves beyond data retention. Privacy is not only about what a system keeps. It is also about what a system is allowed to do. Imagine a device that reads a private document, compares its contents with a police list, finds nothing, and immediately destroys its copy. Deletion would be an important safeguard, but it would not settle whether the document should have been read. A face is not a private document, of course. It is visible in public. Police have long been able to observe people in public spaces. The change is scale. A person watching a crowd cannot calculate a biometric template for hundreds of faces per minute, compare each one against thousands of records, and repeat the process all day without fatigue. The technology does not merely give police better eyes. It gives them a form of automated attention that human surveillance could never sustain. That can be valuable. It can also alter the relationship between a person and a public space. The privacy watchdog calls this a collective privacy issue. People may change their behavior or speech when they feel they are being watched. The harm, if it occurs, is not limited to one person whose data was mishandled. It can affect how an entire community uses a place. Then there is accuracy. Police reported 2 false alerts during the first week. Human review prevented the system from becoming the final decision maker, which is precisely why that safeguard exists. But a human in the loop does not eliminate risk. Once an alert appears, it can influence the person reviewing it. An officer may approach, question, or temporarily inconvenience someone who matched only in the eyes of an algorithm. Real streets are also not laboratories. Lighting changes, faces turn, crowds overlap, cameras capture different angles. People age, grow facial hair, wear glasses, head coverings or makeup. WA Police says it uses conservative similarity thresholds and an algorithm assessed by independent institutions. Its equality assessment recognizes possible performance differences involving age, ethnicity, gender presentation, disability, and religious dress. It requires monitoring, recent watchlist images, where possible, and human confirmation. Again, those controls matter. But the larger the scanned population becomes, the more consequential even a very low false alert rate can be. Accuracy is not merely a percentage printed in a technical report. It is the experience of the person an officer approaches when the machine is wrong. The most important question may not be whether this trial is carefully controlled. It may be whether those controls will survive success. WA Police currently describes the system as overt, mobile, intelligence-led, and time-limited. But the police commissioner has not ruled out future covert use. He has also left open deployment at protests where police have intelligence indicating a significant risk of harm. To be precise, covert deployment is not part of the current overt trial. But once the capability exists, expansion becomes easier to imagine. One marked van becomes several. Occasional deployments become routine. Mobile cameras connect to fixed CCTV. An alert list expands from people with warrants to broader categories of interest. The purpose moves from finding a specific person to monitoring a type of event, place, or behavior. None of that is inevitable. But preventing it requires more than an assurance that it is not happening today. It requires boundaries that are difficult to move tomorrow. The privacy watchdog calls this scope creep. It specifically warns that more deployments, covert use, or connection to widespread fixed cameras would significantly increase the privacy risk. Interestingly, WA Police's own privacy impact assessment also identified transparency as its highest AI-related concern. After proposed controls, it rated the residual transparency risk as moderate, while rating the other categories low. The assessment listed insufficient public awareness, limited community engagement, and a lack of feedback mechanisms among the concerns. That does not prove the trial is unlawful or reckless. It shows that police understood public trust would be one of the system's hardest problems. And trust cannot be generated by signage alone. For meaningful public oversight, we need enough information to test the promises. How many faces are processed at each deployment? How many alerts are generated? How many are correct and how many are false? Who is eligible for the alert list and who approves each category? How often do alerts lead to police engagement, searches, or arrests? Are outcomes and false alerts monitored across demographic groups? Can an independent regulator inspect the technology, deletion process, and audit logs? What specific event would cause a deployment to be stopped? And if the trial becomes permanent, will its limits be fixed in public policy, regulation, or law? WA Police has committed to publishing deployment results. It has released privacy and equality assessments, created human review requirements, and says every deployment must be necessary and proportionate. Those are constructive steps. The responsible position is not to pretend the technology has no value. It clearly can help locate people police are lawfully trying to find. Nor should we pretend that every scanned face is secretly stored in a government database. The published controls say the opposite. But we should also reject the idea that immediate deletion ends the debate. For more than 130,000 people in 1 week, the system still detected a face, generated sensitive biometric data, and performed a police comparison. The public did not first become suspicious. The technology checked whether they matched suspicion. That reversal is the real threshold. The question is not simply whether you trust today's operator, today's commissioner, or today's alert list. The question is whether the rules are strong enough to govern a system that may become cheaper, faster, less visible, and far more widely connected. Because the most important safeguard is not the promise that innocent people have nothing to fear. It is the ability to verify what the system does to everyone. And that is what Trust Protocol is about. Asking the questions, checking the sources, and looking beyond the assurances. If you want more investigations like this, subscribe and join us for the next one. Until next time, keep asking questions. Never trust. Always verify.